Hey guys, welcome back to a new video and thanks to everyone for showing support on the last video created. This has been the most successful video on my channel to date. I really appreciate everyone who left a like, a comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. The video continues to gain views over time and I'm really grateful for the statistics this video brought me. I'll make sure to continue uploading more of that type of content soon. Now, to get onto the topic of the video, this is going to be a video game devlog of one of my very first projects that I've ever built on Unity when I was getting started. Basically covering what it is, what I learned, and where I went from here. This was done 4 years ago, right after I finished my second year in college at the time. I did this to help me build the foundations of what I was aiming to do in game dev. This was done by me and by a friend who I met in college who I still work with on games today. I mostly did this to grasp what it was like to basically try and build something from scratch that would run and work. This was important for me since I did not want to do what most people do and aim high. Lots of people I knew at the time in college were also not finishing their projects. Seeing as how people were abandoning their personal projects because they were too ambitious was something I wanted to avoid. Getting something basic to start off with was important, and completing something even if it was even more important, and that was my first goal to get started in game dev, and for me it is the most important thing to try and do when you are first getting started. And now for the reveal. This game is called Jump Side Dash. This is the first small game that I've ever completed and created on Unity, and back then, I was so proud of myself for being able to make something like this from scratch at the time. The name of the title basically came from my other friend who I was talking to help me throw out random names for a game, and the words Jump Side Dash just stuck well, so we just ran with it. From the first looks of the game, you will see the most complex menu that you will ever see in a game that features a play button, a level select button that lets you choose levels I created progressively going up in difficulty, and the quit button, which just starts the game for you because why not? Now as for the first level, the one thing I wanted to accomplish to challenge myself in this process, which is also something important to have, is to have a unique movement, where basically the only button to progress in this game is to jump, and to accomplish this, I basically had to try and figure out a way for the character to move with these constraints. With those constraints, I decided to have the character just move automatically, and whenever the character hits a wall, they would simply start going in the opposite direction. It took a bit to program, but this was something that was eventually done by me and by my friend. Once we got that set up, I knew that more had to be added to the game so that it isn't too silent. Although for this game we had no music, I decided to add a small bubble popping sound, which I made myself just to add a little bit of life to the game, which is this sound. Now that we had a moving character that was able to progress in the game, we decided to add more things such as enemies that move in simple directions, checkpoints where when a player gets hit by an enemy, they would respawn back there to not lose all the progress, and some switches that are used to deactivate walls or even enemies. And some extra stuff such as jump pads to help make levels a bit different from one another. Although the art is limited in this game, I basically went with a simple minimalist 2D game art, which each level showing different colors while making sure that the players, the enemies, and the other objects in the game were still visible to the player's eyes and are not too confusing. Mixing and matching all of the different elements in the game is what helps set aside what each level does from one another, with some of the levels focusing more on the enemies and others simply focusing on timing jumps right. This helped me get started on what level design is and how to go from there. And that's pretty much it. You will basically keep going until you reach the last level, which once that's beaten will directly take you back to the main menu. It's a pretty simple game that was great for starting out in game dev. I learned lots of things and lessons to move on to their next project, and that's exactly what a beginner should do. They should start on something simple that is achievable and completable to one's game development skills. Now, although this is a very basic game, the one thing I mentioned frequently in the video was about completion. The reason why that is so important is because many people just ditch a project before they even get started or even attempt to try and make something, and they just end up moving on to something different. This isn't a good mindset to have since you'll never actually finish something, and by doing this can demotivate you from trying and make you quit more frequently. Although the game is small in size and nothing extraordinary, it is still something that once you do, will help you as a developer improve by sticking to something and aiming for something that is achievable. This is the greatest lesson I learned from this process and will show you the results of not quitting by showing you the later projects I have worked on. I also learned about teamwork and why collaboration in this space is something important and is something that I will continue to do as a game developer. Without this, I would definitely not get as far as I could. Plus, it's great to work with people who have different perspectives in the space and solve similar problems you may have in a different way. This helps you grow to tackle challenges in this process in different ways that you may have not thought of without the help of others. The last thing I learned from this is to trust the game development process. I have my dream games that I eventually want to work on, but at the time I made this game, I 100% was not there and would have not been able to make my dream game. The knowledge I gained over the years from just trying new projects has helped me build a foundation in which I will use for the future games that I make. This is something I recommend for everyone to do, as they can get better at this process. Once you get past this bit, you will find the process a lot more enjoyable and even become a better person overall by learning discipline and patience, which is critical here. This is basically what I learned from all of this. At some point, I'm going to make a video on the next game I made directly after this, which shows the improvement from this game to the next. Thanks again for stopping by, and I hope that what I said and the lessons I learned help people with their issues in game dev. Thanks again, and expect a new video soon.